Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, we are nearing the end of the July beta for BGs. We had that one no node. I didn't really enjoy that, and now we've got the insults and injury, which I really feel like is punishing recoil tree users, but we'll get to that when it's time. We have a massive update to the BGs tier list, some kind of analysis, some strategy. I do want to get straight into it, but before we do, I want you to know, I have played as much as I possibly can. I am on this kind of extended family vacation, having a lot of fun with that. I have played enough where I got myself all the way up to ranking a little under 1,000 if I remember correctly. And then I switched to put on the recoil tree because I wanted to test out a variety of champions and setups and things like that for you and get that analysis out. And I have fallen all the way down to about 4,000 in testing that out. It's a different style of play. We'll talk about that. And so, I mean, I always do anyway, but I have really leaned on the help of what I call the MCoC Illuminati. These are the ranking team. They help me out so much, providing their experience, DLL, Nerd, BC, BMcG, Campo, Iron Patriot, Felnos, and more. DLL Nerd really went above and beyond on this one. Please thank them. Go to check out their channels, subscribe, tell them thank you. I mean, these guys are both playing, I think, in like the top 100, if not higher. I know Nerd definitely is. I think DLL is fluctuating there. I think probably due to time as well. And the knowledge they're sharing is immense. It's incredible. Thank you very much, the whole rankings team, Illuminati. I really appreciate it. All right, now let's go ahead and jump into this. One of the things, if you've been following this for a while, you'll notice I've actually kind of reduced, condensed, let's say, the dual threats. Now, when this first started, I was really big on I want all my champions to be dual threats. That was the whole goal. But we also theorized that I thought as time went on, there would be a lot of strategy based on deck building as far as maybe getting your opponent into a bit of a corner, winning purposely, not losing a round, but making sure you just won 2 out of those 3. And I think we're starting to really see that start to develop, especially as a variety of metas are coming in. There's just only so many champions who are what I would call the tier above all for a large portion, if not all of them, but a large portion of each of these metas. And of course, Kabam's gonna keep throwing more at us. So we've condensed that significantly. And here's what you're seeing, right? I'm not gonna read every champion too. I'll try to point out a little bit here and there, especially ones that have the emojis, kind of explain what those mean. Doom, you see that he's got the swords there. Now, as far as tier above all, for dual threat, that's meaning defense leaning, meaning that there's a little bit more defensive use for a dual threat there with him. If you've gone up against Doom, you make one mistake against that special 2, he ends you. Also, offensively, it feels like mine's at rank 4. I'm ending fights, some fights anyway, with just one SB2, so I don't need to worry about going all the way to the SB3. That's really nice. Dragon Man, I love seeing my boy Dragon Man up there. As ridiculous as this sounds, having those immunities, that dual immunity, means you can't use Archangel against him. So he's great anyways, and he does have the power gain if people can't turn that off. And then his offensive capabilities, really, I think we're having our eyes opened, especially with these smaller health pools. That's another thing to kind of just keep in mind. We have less timers, smaller health pools that could be adjusted, but he was doing great even with the larger health pool and slightly larger time too. So he definitely deserves to be up there. Now we have Tiger. I'm gonna mention her, point her out. She's got that offensive leaning for the dual threat. She definitely is, I think, stronger offensively. However, if you go up with an opponent and there's some tier 1 players who just are still not comfortable dexing her specials. I mean, I get caught every once in a while too. She ends you. So I do think she's not nothing on defense. You're not just throwing in, Storm. I run OG Storm sometimes on an attack. I think she's that good. The immunities, we'll get into that when we get to her. But when I place her on defense, I know, unless they're, Black Widow Deadly Origin maybe, if the shock immunity, I don't know. She's probably not going to win me that round. That is not Tiger. If the attacker makes a mistake, she's going to win that for you. America Chavez, Jaeger Bombastic, I know you love her, man. I love her too. I've enjoyed using her, but I don't think I can put her quite in that tier above all. Now I'm going to group Reintro and Wicken for now because they are just so new, and I want to introduce you. We got that little shopping bag, right? Like, you just got those new clothes, a little retail therapy there, something to make yourself feel better. They're just so new. They're brand spanking new. They're, you need to iron them out. You guys get the metaphor there. I'm not going to belabor it anymore. And that might be part of why they are so good. I think only time will tell with these sorts of things. With Reintro and Wicken, just so many few people have them. Not a lot of people don't even know how to fight them. I do think that they're probably going to be staying at top shelf. I could see them even moving up higher. But both have a very strong neutralize, and I think that's a very big deal. And then Sasquatch, there is some RNG to him, but with a lower health pool, even if that SB2 does not crit, he can be ending some fights. My buddy Nerd showed me some evidence of that going through. So, all right, now we'll move on to Science. Overseer Joe Fixit, I've told you in one of my last videos, I still do not know how to use him. I actually wanted to make an Essentials video on him, get that out for you all. I spent a pretty good amount of time, almost an embarrassing amount of time, and I just can't figure it out. I'm 5-hit comboing into the SP1. Things are dying, and it's working out delightfully well. He's not very good against bleed immune, obviously. And then you can move your way on down. They're all incredible. They're all awesome. I Bomb Spider-Ham is fantastic. I Hulk. It's just going to depend on the meta, and these champions are still great to use in almost all the metas, right? There's going to be some that they're not, but that's why they're in that top shelf tier. They're just not as powerful in as many of the metas, or maybe they're not quite as intensely powerful in all of them. That's how you end up in that top shelf, but they're still great. I've been ranking them all up. I think I have them all at rank 3. It's been a goal of mine, and I think I finally finished that off today, actually, except for Wolverine F1X. Now we'll get to skill. Kingpin on offense was a little interesting with this one because he starts off with those debuffs. You got to keep that in mind. So your opponent's starting off unblockable. Not fun. Fury, he's still someone you got to game plan around. And I had someone who I believe used a rank 4 Fury and absolutely destroyed my rank 3 Fury on defense. Thought that was really interesting. Very cool use. If you watch this video, nice play. You kicked my butt. Well done. Mole Man, still amazing, still incredible. We've talked about that. If you're interested in my how to replace your Mole Man video, I do have that. You can go into my channel and you'll see it. It's pretty recent. Elsa, she's got that bomb on her, right? That means recoil mastery is required for her to be a tier above all dual way. I used her to offensively attack a Vision Arcus once I switched over to the recoil tree today. It was really fun. It was great. She took care of it, and I have not been able to place her on defense, but if she's got recoil and she's bleeding and they don't have a mutant, she's probably going to win you that round. That's just the way it works out. She's going to place that. It is a passive degen, so they can't even shrug it. Hitmonkey is incredible. He's outrageous. The only reason he's not higher is because it feels like people know how to fight him now. A lot of Archangels coming in, or just mutants in general who can take care of him, plus a variety of other options. But as far as taking out champions quick, dooms, your things, he will handle them for you. Killmonger, you can see he's got those swords, a little more defensive oriented, but fantastic champion. We'll talk a little bit more about someone like him, why he's not in the tier above all, bring up some kind of knowledge that my buddy Na has been dropping on what he's calling pausers. I don't know if that's exactly I don't know if he's trademarked that term, but I do want to give him credit, and I know what he's talking about. We'll get to that when we get to the defensive champions. Mutant. I think they're all funneling up there. And the one champion that I actually don't have, I'm not a mythic level player, is Wolverine Weapon X. I would love to get him. He's a trouble to fight, right? You can handle him. I think I took one out with my Omega Sentinel. She's a rank 4 though. You can obviously use your your Warlocks, your Archangels. Some of the heal blocks can be really good. A lot of those tech champions, they can help you out if you make a mistake or something like that against him. He's tough. He's a tough one. I fought him enough in war where I have an idea of what I'm doing, but still. And then he can offensively cause problems and get some champions down. Storm X, Nerd really pointed this out to me, and he's like, it still sometimes requires some RNG, but she's a problem on defense. She's gone with that glancing mechanic. She's often going to prolong the fight for your opponent, and then if she gets the right crits, you win offensively. Toad, I think some people still just aren't really sure how to fight him. I think they're probably still putting him in the corner. Don't want to put Baby in the corner, not Toad. And then he's got enough offensive firepower, taking out those Furies. A little bit problematic if he doesn't have enough of his active poisons when Fury goes into his second life, but there's some nuance to there too. Switching on to the recoil masteries, his damage feels like it's ramped up significantly. I've really enjoyed him for that, especially with those recoil tree. Magneto, I can't stand it, but the fact is the man shuts down metal, can get some damage done, and then if you have him on your deck and your opponent only has metal attackers left, he can be a problem. He can be a problem when you place him on defense. Havoc, we're seeing him in this meta with those debuffs he places. He requires someone to bring in, for the most part, I think I've seen some Kingpins taking him out and Ghosts and things like that, but if people have, they're going to want an armor up champion, and a lot of people are forgetting that Nimrod actually can lose his armor ups. It just naturally expires, or if they don't remember to heavy with their Guardian. So Havoc is a nice defender there, has some capabilities. A lot of his, I think, both his mediums and his lights, I think, do not make contact, so you can use them to take Korgs and things like that. It's just a little slower for that really super high tier, right? So that's part of why he's in top shelf. And that's actually how I'm delineating between tier above all and top shelf is I asked Nerd and DLL, these guys really playing at that like upper top or top tier, is if you're probably not tier above all for their tier, but you are for the one I'm playing in, then you're top shelf. Tech. Nimrod, just destroying mutants, destroying all mutants except for Bishop. Warlock, especially for one of that recoil tree. Whoo! Omega Sentinel, something really cool. I used her, me and my opponent, we just kept messing each other up. It was, I think we both had bad decks, and we kept both finding ways to really make life difficult on each other. And we came down to it, and he placed, they placed their Ultron on defense, and I had a choice between Omega Sentinel, and I don't remember who the other champion was at the time, but I used Omega Sentinel, and I don't know how high sig the Ultron was, but I was able to utilize her heal block, and that was really great, and I was able to win that fight. It wasn't super fast, but because we had both been placing troublesome defenders, I was able to win that, and that was really cool to have her come through. Just kind of one of those things I like to point out, because so many times we compare her and Nimrod, I wanted to point out where she is stronger than Nimrod. They deal with healing in different ways. Penny, there's some thought that Penny could move up because she is a kind of natural Nick Fury counter, right? She'll heal block him as he goes into that second life. People are starting to have more answers to her. Hello Hulkling to her on defense. And a variety of champions will be surprised with some ones. People I think are motivated to find ways to attack her in this lower health ground or lower health pool battleground meta. But she's still worth it. She's a great attacker. 1 SP, 1 SP2. Usually your opponent dies if they're not incinerate immune. Guardian, he's great. We've talked about that. Ultron, just kind of referenced him. He does have defensive problems, right? Like he's healing back a lot of that energy damage. He has enough high enough sig. He's shortening the duration, I think, is shock and incinerate. He's got those nice heals if they can't stun. And then he's got that evade that just comes up. Really not much you can do about it. It's kind of a problem. Cosmic. Hurt, Hyperion, everyone knows that. Like, you know, it is what it is. Hulkling, he's my boy. I love Hulkling. I'm probably gonna get out one more Hulkling video before his Future Crystal comes live. I finally took a war fight where I was like, I'm doing the whole thing. I'm putting on the recoil tree, I'm big boosting. I want everyone to see how amazing he is. He has not lost for me yet. He has not lost for me yet in recoil, non-recoil, on offense, on defense. We put the shopping bag on there because I think there's some idea that maybe people aren't quite aware of how to fight him. They think they can probably power drain him, and they think they can nullify, I'm assuming, all of his buffs, and you can't on all of them. The indestructible, and I can't think what the other one is, but they actually won't. They'll just turn into passive instead. So he's causing problems for people. And then of course I've used him to beat up a lot more than just Penny Parkers. It's got bishops and things like that for me. So Null, Terrax, Cersei, King Groot, I don't think those are surprising anyone now. Those are your dual threats. Now I want to make it clear, I think the more dual threats you can have that are great and fit the meta, I think the better. Especially if you're not running recoil. I found I did my best when I ran as many dual threats as possible with the few specialists being attackers and defensive, mainly attackers for me. And then I just kind of went through it there, and I was winning more than I was losing. I was building my way up the roster. Then once I put on recoil, I felt like having very set attackers, very set defenders became a bigger thing. Then my draft really mattered. I don't feel like there was necessarily more strategy. I feel like the strategy was maybe more nuanced and intense. I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and look at the attackers, and then we'll look at the defenders. Okay, the attackers. Now, these champions, and you're gonna see, like some of them we have the sword up there, and that means like they do have defensive capabilities if you need to use them. It just didn't feel appropriate to put them into the dual threat. I didn't want to mislead people. And you're also going to see a couple repeats because I did want to highlight like Tigra. I think she is a top shelf dual threat, but if you're looking for a pure attacker, she's one of the best out there, and that's why we have her there. She's destroying so many champions right there. Struggles against Thing because of the way this node works, but in general, she's taking out Thing. Nimrods, Hercules, the whole thing. That neutralize is so powerful. And then the big damage coming off the SB2 if you can play her well. I have mine at rank 36200. I don't play her that well, and she still wins so many for me. Hood is incredible. In fact, my boy Bryce actually just posted on the Discord server him beating, they both went up against Nimrod. He beat a Human Torch against Nimrod. Bryce is also an incredible player, and that's a rank 4 Hood. That being said, the tool being Hood was still good enough, right, to help the craftsman Bryce out there. Diablo, especially running recoil, can do some great things. Long shot, Claire V, I've had a lot of people use her. She's got so much utility, right? And she can, she's won some fights for people against me. Long shot, Buddy Nerd pointed out, for every 30-second fight, sometimes there's a minute or a minute and a half one. So that's why he's where he's at, but he obviously can do incredible things for you. Symbiote Supreme, Dr. Voodoo, Symbiote Supreme, handling champions with those buffs that don't mind them being nullified. And then the other thing I want to point out, and this is why so many of these Mystic defenders or attackers were troublesome, and you'll see this in defenders too, is if you're running into high enough Mystic dispersion, almost all of them can cause problems. People can accidentally push you to your special 2 or your special 3. They're having to deal with more specials, which takes more time, so it's delaying things, kind of back to Nah and his idea about pausers or elongators. I'm not sure exactly what his term was, but he's a very smart player. Makes a lot of sense. And then science, again, I'll try to pick this up a bit. Human Torch, I mean, come on, we all know what he can do. You throw on his Nova Flame and you're destroying all Mystics and champions who do energy damage. Scorpion's an interesting one for me. As you know, I love Scorpion. Just put out that Essentials video on him. Good luck. I hope you pull him in the featured crystal that's coming up. I think he can take a little bit of time, but people are doing some great things with him on attack, and I've actually had him win a few defensive battles for me. I think a lot of that's due to him being new, though. I think folks aren't maybe sure that he can cause an evade, or maybe they forget that he has immunities and things like that. So I'm not totally sure on that one. He is metal, so if you bring in your Magneto or you bring in an evade counter champion, you're going to be fine. Mr. Negative is absolutely destroying champions, right, and working so well against a lot of those Mystic champions, and then he does have defensive capabilities too. So again, don't underestimate the defensive capabilities, especially if you back your opponent into a corner there. Red Hulk, I think there's some people who would probably say he should be tier above all, destroying those Mystics for you. Miguel, Spider-Man 99, I wish I could put him higher. But the fact of the matter is although he's won me some fights that otherwise probably would not have been won, he took his time. And I think if my opponent had a better option, or if maybe they had played a little bit better, they probably would have beat him just on the time alone. And then Wasp. Wasp can nuke some champions down. She's very good. She's very, very good. Skill. Okay. There's a lot. Hit Monkey, destroying champions. One of the best attackers out there. Thing and Dooms, taking out these really tough defenders for you. Shang-Chi, I thought that moving to recoil, I would just notice a huge improvement in him. And then I realized, no, he's already destroying champions even without it. He's been fantastic. He has been an absolute fantastic attacker. Absolutely no defensive capabilities for you whatsoever, but he has been the ability to go unblockable, the slow, the whole thing. You guys have heard me go on and on about Shang-Chi before. So Black Panther, you've heard me talk about him and what he can do in the hands of a player with the skills of Nah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Nah's channel. I believe he has posted, I know he's posted some Black Panther gameplay, just taking out so many matchups you don't think Black Panther has any business taking. Falcon, Black Widow Deadly Origins, they can shock, she can destroy them. Crossbones, Jabari, Masaka. Remember with Jabari though, there are other ways to help her get into her hump quickly, but really, and I've spent some time playing her quite a bit in the EQ this week because I wanted to get used to her, is if they're placing a debuff on you when you attack them, she's going to ramp up so fast. It's really where she's destroying champions. That is her strong suit. Masakure, that big SB2 into the block. His buff has been great. If you have questions about him, make sure to check out DLL's channel. And then Hawkeye, Black Cat, Gwenpool. Black Cat is really wanting to reduce the ability accuracy and then go through there. I do think her playstyle isn't necessarily risky, but I think you really need to know what you're doing. You can get tremendous results, but there are other skills I currently want to take in. Omega Red. If you're running recoil, there's probably no better mutant out there. I guess maybe Kitty Pryde. We'll let other people figure that out. That's not what we're gonna do on this channel. Storm is incredible. I've been using her. OYC kind of opened my eyes a little bit, dove deeper into her kit, and she's incredible, and using her against all those skill champions who shrug her debuffs, and she punishes them bad. Sunspot, same thing. You're getting those incinerates shrugged, and he's got that nice power gain. Plus, then he keeps a lot of that damage, so people are using him to really take out Furies and things like that. And then Archangel, right? If you can bleed him, you can poison him, he's going to destroy them. Magneto, White, Professor X, Namor, Colossus, Jubilee. Jubilee, I'm very curious about. If you have a high sig Jubilee, I would love to hear how she's doing. That is obviously a lot of damage going. She's putting out for champions who are shrugging those debuffs. That is a significant amount at that high sig. Namor, Colossus has all of those immunities, so I can see that. Professor X just hasn't been much for him. He's a little slow, I think, is the issue there. And then White Magneto. There are other mutant champions that are punishing skill champions and others who are shrugging their debuffs. Although if you don't have them and you've got White Magneto because he's so good in questing and other content, I think he can be used. Tech, Sparky, Ghost, Doc Ock. I mean, come on, right? Doc Ock might be the one who's surprising to you, but we've seen him do so well in so many metas, really doing great against a ton of mutants. And then as my buddy Nerd pointed out, coming out with a high, if not full health bar, high health bar there. Nebula, all those immunities, shutting down robots. Big SB2 War Machine, my buddy Felganos, really pointing out how much he can destroy a lot of these troublesome mutants. Silver Centurion, I love Silver Centurion. He's been great for me, but I think it's just going to be certain metas where he's really going to shine. Hulkbuster can dish out so much damage. Pun 99, especially in certain metas, has a defense capability. It was the one where I can't think with the kinetic transference. He was really great on defense there. And then on offense, right? He can control the combat power and things like that. It just takes him a little while to get into it. That's all. CGR in the Cosmic tier. He actually became one of the champions. Once I started really taking it seriously before I put on Recoil, I just auto-banned Human Torch, Archangel, and CGR. And I noticed my performance improved significantly. He just takes out too many champions and too fast. He's that good. Surfer, almost as quick, especially against those Penny Parkers. Gamora as well. Her buff was good, folks. She is a good champion. I don't know what else to say. Medusa, we're seeing more and more robots. Remember Omega Sentinel, I think the DLL pointed that out. She has a tremendous role. She can do a lot of damage and just shutting down those robots. That's a big deal. She does have some defensive capabilities. Maybe folks have forgotten how to fight her or things like that. So that is not out of the question. Odin, Venompool. I have them both for separate but similar reasons, right? They can both help shut down evaders. Venompool being the Spider-Verse, Odin with his nice True Strike. They both do respectable damage. Odin is pretty tanky. Venompool can help you take out those Penny Parker, and so can Odin too, but they're going to be a little slow if the opponent has like a CGR, Surfer, Gamora, or something like that. Hercules. Nova shocked me. Nerd's the one who opened my eyes on that one, and you'll see Nova definitely has defensive capabilities too. And I was talking to Nerd about this pretty extensively, and he was saying that he felt like because Nova's rotation can be a little tight, a little difficult, that it was the smaller health pools that was really helping Nova elevate. If they go back to the larger health pools, we might not see Nova as high. Maybe it falls off a little bit. Venom, Captain Marvel movie, up there. They're worthy. They're great champions for your questing. So as you're filling out your deck and your roster, depending on the meta, they are well worthy of bringing into Battlegrounds, depending on what you need. All right, then now we're down to the defenders, right? These are champions that are causing problems for your opponent. And I think you're gonna be surprised to see some up here. A lot of them have those dual threat capabilities, especially in the Mystic tier. I already references. If you're running a high enough Mystic Dispersion, you're causing problems. You're able to throw more specials. When you're on defense, that's delaying the fight. That's pausing the fight. That's another 10 to 12 to 15 seconds, right? And that's helping you maybe win your round. If you're on offense, that means more specials, more damage that you're possibly doing. So keep that in mind. That's why you see so many of those Mystics with the insignia saying they have offensive use too. I don't think we're gonna necessarily point any of them out. Then in the science tier, Thing, I don't really see an offensive use for him. You know, there's so many Thing counters these days. I don't think his days are gone, but you want to be strategic. You can't just bring in your Thing and plop him down and think you're going to get a win on there. There's too many hit monkeys and champions like that who can cause Thing to not take very long, in fact. Miles, I had someone use Miles against me. I was able to figure it out, but I think because of my Omega Sentinel with her anti-miss. But if you have to throw specials, he's going to be a problem. He does have some awesome capabilities. MODOK, I know Nerd has used his a few times. And then Void, DLO pointed out that Void can be used offensively. A little slow for maybe my skill set, but at DLL's level, it can happen. Korg, causing problems, really necessitating you bring in a specific counter there or play him a very certain way, which is quite difficult to do. Anti-Venom with that shrug, right? I don't think that's a nothing. Apocalypse, I wanted to put him on the offense, but he's just a little too slow. It's just the fact of the matter. At the super high tier, he's a little slow. Depending on where if you're having great success with him, that's awesome. That is fantastic. He is one of the best champions in the game, and I do think that should be prioritized, especially if you like him. He's big, he's beefy, he can make your opponent take a very long time, plus his specials take an hour and a half. Like, I have lots of matchups against Apocalypse just because he threw 2 SP1s, even though I tried to not let him, and I lost. I lost by like 5 seconds. There it is. That's enough. That's great. Sauron, I do think some of that's because people don't know how to fight him. I do think that some of that, but he's tough anyways. Sauron's got his fans. You can't be used offensively. Nightcrawler, I'm hearing reports. I haven't seen the evidence, but I'm hearing reports he can be used offensively. Strife. There's Strife with that miss and all that, and then the glancing. Not a lot of counters to those things. Cap Sam Wilson, I can't stand fighting him. He is like the bane of my MCoC existence these days. I almost lost to him with a Hercules, but fortunately I had placed a good defender, and so it took my opponent quite a long time. He's a tough fight. He's a tough out. That auto block he's got there, and I know people are using him offensively, so that's why he's got those insignias. Mysterio, Sentinel, kind of the same thing. Annihilus, my boy Zillium showing us that you can use Annihilus. He posted something on Twitter the other day with a really nice SB2. It was War, but these health pools are around the same. Nova, we already talked about. Super Skrull, Arcus, and Icarus. They can do things. They're good defenders, cause some problems for people, especially if they don't know how to fight them. And then if you're in a pinch, you really need, they do have some offensive capabilities. Now, I hope you're enjoying BGs. I love it. It's obviously got its flaws. When it goes live, I hope a lot of them are fixed, and then we're just gonna have to trust Kabam to continuously fix it. But I absolutely love the Battlegrounds. Remember, this rankings and tier list is solely like for default. We can't know the meta. So this is just about, I think for me, account building. I know I'm basing a lot of my rank ups based on this tier list. It's helping, and then when the meta comes or it's announced or we start to practice it, I got my champions ready to go. I don't have to rank up too many just for that specific meta because I've already done it. Let me know how you're doing, how you're enjoying it, what champions are working for you, anything that you think we necessarily got wrong. And if you can in the comments, because I do enjoy reading them, let me know kind of around your ranking. That is really, really helpful because like I said, DLL, Nerd, these guys, BMG, Campo, MC Blaze, MP Blaze, sorry, MC Blaze. They're playing at a extremely high tier. And so for them, a champion, they're like, well, I don't know if I'd bring them. In my tier, they might be dominating. So let me know where you're at. We can reflect that knowledge. I hope you're enjoying BGs. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.